What's happening, everybody? Happy Friday. I'm your man, Damon Cunningham, aka Dame D NYDC. This is Two Bikes Up, Business Corner. And I'm really, now, what is the word? I'm really excited. One, uh, today's guest joining me on the other mic has a vast depth knowledge of several different things, and she's got her hands in a lot of different cookie jars, which is really important, though, for us as a community. Two, we've she and I we've kind of played the phone tag. We've gone through some illness and life challenges, which comes with life. We all have had these challenges, but we're here today, and we're gonna speak about life and health with the certified life and health coach. We're gonna talk about finding resilience in yourself and in life, amongst other things, in happiness. Because who doesn't like to be happy? Like, you don't like to be happy and then something's wrong. But we're also going to talk about that. And we're going to tap into that because she's also a podcast host. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, joining me today on the other mic is the incredibly talented Leann Herron. Leann, how are you doing today?
I am absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Like I said, from the top, it's an honor and a pleasure to be able to, to bring your talents to the forefront because that's what, this segment is really all about. We have so many hidden gems and so many people just in our own backyard that is doing so much to really leave a positive impact on others in our community. And it's a pleasure to have you here, Leanne. And to really start with any story, we always have to start at the very beginning. So take a few moments to tell us who is Leann Herron and what does she like to do when she's not pouring into other people's cup or sharing happiness on her own podcast.
I am a wife and a mother of two adult children. I have a wonderful grandson who's 8 years old. If I'm not coaching or hosting my podcast, you can pretty much find me out in nature, barefoot in my backyard with my hands in the dirt and just enjoying my flowers and the weather. Here in New Mexico, we have about 350 plus days of sunshine a year. So we're very blessed.
Mm, listen, right there, that already got my ears and raised up already. We just went through this lull here in the DMV area, and today, I mean, it's beautiful today, but 300 plus years of 70-degree. I mean, you can't beat that. That's like a little piece of heaven on earth every day, right?
It
So,
is.
you know, listening to that, and really before we dive any further, how much does that really play though into 'cause just having that almost everyday peace and serenity and calm in nature around you? How much does that really um, blend into you and your spirit and who you are and what you give back to others? Like, how much does that weather really play into your everyday life?
I've lived here pretty much my whole life. The funny thing is, last year at this time of year, we were in DC for 10 days
Okay.
and there was a lot of rain while we were there. So that was a big shift for us because we're just so used to sunshine all the
Mhm.
time. We are in a desert, so it's kind of dry air here, but just having four distinct seasons
Mm,
and
mm,
all the sunshine, and we have mountains and we have rivers both here in town where I am. We have mountains on one side and a river on the other.
mm,
So that really helps just keep me full and
mm.
happy. And, I try to get out first thing in the morning and get some sun on my skin and some good vitamin D. And it's just a great way to start your day.
It really is. I just love it. Just as you're talking, I'm imagining it in my mind with me in the middle of all of it. I mean, it really does. Sometimes, and I ask that really because I think people don't really understand the power of using your imagination and the effects of what it can really do to rejuvenate yourself and really put you into a different mindset when you look at things. And I mean, you're very well familiar with that, I'm sure. And your journey though Leann, is very, it's kind of an interesting one because if I remember, correctly in reading up on you, you were in accounting, then you transitioned to legal work, and then transitioned to becoming a life coach. Now, these are all three very distinct fields. But for you, what was that like that aha moment or that pivotal moment that really moved you and that changed towards your current path as a certified life coach?
Sure. When I was younger and raising my kids, accounting was a wonderful, stable career.
Mhm,
It was good money, good benefits, um, but it's kind of a lonely job. You spend a lot of time behind closed doors, just working with numbers. But again, it provided really good benefits for me to provide for my family.
mhm,
And then I was actually working at a large law firm in accounting when one of the paralegals kind of asked me if I had ever considered being a paralegal. She was like, your attention to detail and the way you can multitask and stay organized would really benefit you as a paralegal. Plus, you get to talk to people. You're not just by yourself behind closed doors. And so that for me was really intriguing. And I thought, okay, that sounds great. So I enrolled in online school when my kids were both of school age. So we were able to get our education at the same time.
mhm.
We could do homework together.
Together, yeah,
And I was also, trying to show my kids that you can do anything. You can be a mom, you can go to school, you can have a full-time job, you can take care of a house. And so I really enjoyed it. It was in my 30s when I went to college.
wow.
Um,
A little bit of a culture shock there for a moment. There's one of those like, wait a minute, am I sure? You got to kind of reset yourself. I Because like I know later on in life, my wife and I did the same. So I know it was a little bit of a wait. Wait a minute, get your balance here, get your gears here. But that had to be excellent for your kids though too, to see mom reintegrating and really committing and dedicating herself to this, and really kind of holding them accountable too now with this change, right?
yeah. And it was even fun because as I was learning things in college, my daughter was already in middle school. So she knew how to do more with computers
Yeah.
than I knew. And so, she got to teach me how to create a PowerPoint for a
Wow.
class that I was taking. So it really was a great opportunity for us to grow together.
I love that. I really
And
do.
so then I finished my associates in legal studies and was able to transition to working full time as a legal assistant and paralegal. And ended up doing that for 13 years. That became
Wow.
my full time career, and got to work in a lot of different areas in the legal field, from employment law to medical malpractice, civil litigation. And so I had been doing that up until COVID hit. And just like the rest of the world, COVID was a huge shift
Yeah.
for the world.
Yeah.
And for within the legal field, our attorneys couldn't meet with clients in person. They couldn't continue with hearings with judges in person.
Right.
So, just like everyone else, we were forced to learn new technology. Um, Thankfully, we found Zoom and we were able to learn it easily, install it on all the computers, and keep working.
Right.
And we all had to shift, but for whatever reason, I think because my attorneys were very old school, older gentlemen, while the rest of the world were letting their staff work from home, ours did not.
Oh wow.
So we were literally one of the only law firms that was still open and running in office 5 days a
Wow.
week. And so
Wow.
that was hard. It was really
Yeah.
hard on the staff.
Hmm.
Um, you had to just shift with everything and keep working like nothing had changed, but we couldn't be in the kitchen at the same time, or we couldn't be in the copy room at the same time. We couldn't
Wow.
have lunch together. We were wearing masks and hand sanitizer and wiping
Yeah.
everything down. It was just really difficult.
I can not only difficult just in the physical sense, but just in the mental sense of having to do this every day. And then you probably catch yourself at, did I wash my hands? Or, did I touch something that somebody, so that had to even bear more on you mentally, probably than the physical aspect. And to grind through that, and this was through the whole period, that was
Mhm.
wow, wow. It's really tough. Really
And then
tough.
to kind of top that off, because so many law firms had either shut down
Mhm.
or weren't accepting new cases, but we were still acting like everything was normal. We accepted a really large influx of active litigation cases.
Okay.
And there's no time, like you can't let the judge know, oh, we're new representation. We need time to get up to date and familiar with these cases. The judges
Mhm.
don't care. The
You just
other
hit the
attorneys
ground
don't
running.
care. You just got to keep going. And it was 15 cases on top of the 35 I already had.
Oh.
And so trying to, prepare, get ready for hearings, send stuff to clients, send stuff to judges, deal with Zoom. And it was overwhelming.
Mhm.
And then the cases themselves, one of them ended up being a personal trauma trigger for me.
Wow.
And I wasn't able to separate myself because I had never experienced trauma like that,
Mhm.
to where it literally knocked the wind out of me.
Oh, wow.
And it was like I was reliving that trauma
Oh my
like
goodness,
it was
really?
the same day.
Wow.
And so, I
Wow.
talked to my bosses, and I'd already disclosed to my bosses what some of my issues were in life.
Yeah. Alright.
Um, and so I said, this is really triggering me and I'm having a really hard time. Requested an accommodation to maybe rearrange some work with some of the other legal assistants or paralegals in the office.
Mhm.
But we were a small firm, so that really wasn't a feasible option.
Okay.
So it just became a like, oh, it's just a hearing or it's just a motion. Just don't think about it. And I wish it was that easy,
It's not
but
that simple. Yeah, it's not that easy. Oh my
um,
goodness.
and so, I toughed it out for 7 months. I actually quit a total of 3 times. The first time I guilted myself into going back. The
Oh,
second time
man.
they guilted me into going back. And then the third time I finally was just done. I was
Yeah.
actually, having panic attacks
Oh,
and
no, Leann, no,
oh,
no.
it was awful. So I got out. I ended up resigning and, luckily we were blessed in my house and I was able to take a year off
Thank goodness.
to work on my physical health, my mental health,
Mhm.
and really figure out what I was going to do next. Because that left such a bad taste in my mouth.
Mm.
I was like,
Just
okay, I don't want to work in legal anymore.
my God. Just listening to I mean, my hairs and my skin is raised because not even knowing what it is, but like you said, we all have somewhere where we probably identify with some type of childhood trauma. And there are certain things that you see. Sometimes you could just hear something that will just take you back to that place. And there's nothing worth, and I mean, I've come to really understand that there's nothing worth your own health and sanity. There's no paycheck. There's nothing in this world that can take care of you like you putting in, those boundaries and what's best for yourself first. Because then if you're whole, then you can do things that are whole, whether it be in your life with your family, like you said, moving on to another job or career. You have to be the best version of yourself. You have to be whole before you can do that. So I'm glad to hear that you were able to, come through that trauma and you had the blessings and the benefit of having, a solid foundation behind you that allowed you to move uh, into life coaching. And that's a heck of a story. That's a heck of a pivot, if you will. And it makes me think, like, what once you got into uh life coaching and working with others through mental health. One, how did that do for Leann? Like, you went in whole, and came in brand new. But what was that like now, being on that side and kind of working with people like yourself who are coming in and trying to refocus and recenter themselves, like, for themselves? What was that initial period for you like?
I think, when you look at going into life coaching or any kind of coaching, they tell you teach what you know.
Mm, mm,
You learning from a book, you can learn from a book, but you've got to really teach from what you know. And so that's what I was doing. I was able to learn how to meditate, to work with alternative medicine practitioners that helped me get my nervous system under control. I learned different modalities for reducing my stress. So that's what really pushed me into coaching, was that I had developed those skills, and now I wanted to teach others those skills so that they didn't end up in the same place that I was, which was burnt out, overwhelmed, really struggling with PTSD. I had
mm.
really extreme brain fog and memory loss. And I didn't even know, honestly, that that's what trauma was, because
Wow.
I had been so used to just shoving that stuff down and just continuing to function because I was always raising kids and
Mhm.
I didn't have time to have trauma
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
until it knocked the wind out of me, knocked me off my feet.
That's a very interesting thing, when you talk, because some of us, we just live our lives, right? Um, and for many of us, I think our lives are different. Like I said, and when I say different, I'm gonna separate the two, men and women. Because mothers are the caretaker, and they have a lot more on their shoulders. Just going to call it what it is. I didn't write this book, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why our societal norms uh, have developed these things. So this is not Damon's view. I'm just giving an overview of, I think, what we see as a society, and how our norms are drawn out for men and women. And women bear a lot of weight in that. And I think, like you said, Leann, just kind of going through these daily things, the weight of it really is subconscious, but it really has a wear on you that you don't really recognize sometimes until maybe it's too late. Depression will set in, like you mentioned, PTSD. And I want to ask, really, because I think and I can say it from a man's side, because I know when I talk to my wife, it's like, you just blow those things off like it's not there. And I'm like, well, no, it's there. It's just not gonna go anywhere today, because I'm just not gonna deal with it today. And that's more of a male
Mm-hmm.
mindset, right? Where women, oh no, this has got to be done, this and it's got to happen now. And I get it. But what are some of the misconceptions, though? I think that's a key aspect to talk about, because I think people have a misconception, one, about some of these traumas, but then to be able to sit down and talk with a life coach or someone who can help them address those things that sometimes we just dismiss or don't even really address as being there. So what are some of those misconceptions, Leanne?
I would say the first big misconception for most people is that uh, life coaching is similar to working with a therapist.
Okay.
But therapists are more focused on, that deep work, the childhood trauma,
Mhm.
drudging things up over every conversation, reliving those experiences. Life coaching is more forward thinking. So we're more focused on, I like to do a lot of root cause work, because you really can't transition to a different phase of your life if you don't look at what are the cause of those things.
Makes sense.
But life coaching is more like setting goals, helping you really do a lot of internal work and see where those things are that are maybe holding you back or keeping you stuck,
Hmm.
which a lot of that is 100% mindset.
Right.
And then helping you see what's possible for your future.
I like that. And I think that's important too, because I think when you really talk about mindset, because like I say, childhood traumas and things like, I mean, yes, definitely, I would encourage anyone who needs to do a deeper dive into some of the key mechanisms that internally are holding us back. Those, and like you said, but mindset, and setting goals moving forward are things that can help that when you go to a therapist, because now you're achieving things. I think just being able to achieve these goals to fill up, you making you feel better can then now help you if you have to sit down and dig into that box and really unpack things. But now you've kind of felt the victory, if you will, feeling of I can, because a lot of times your past is what makes you feel like you can't. Or you know what I'm saying? So I think
Mhm.
it's great. And that's why I just want people to I wanted to share the misconception of a life coach, and you said it so well with a therapist. But I do believe the two can work together, but you just got to be in a mental mind space, one as a human being, to address and attack both of those. But I say all that to say, Leann, because as we read and kind of dive more into your work, you specialize uh in the big five areas of coaching, right? So if you could, the first part of this question is just take a minute, and if you don't mind, educate me and our audience about what those big five areas of coaching are.
Sure. It's life as a whole, but money, your career, your love and relationships, your health, of course, and then your spirituality. So,
Mm,
those are the main five areas that my certification enables me to help people work on. And normally, most people, if you're off in one area, like maybe you're having financial struggles or you're considering changing jobs, there's usually you're off everywhere. If you're not happy at work, why aren't you happy at work?
yep.
And if you're not happy at work, that's affecting your relationships.
Ooh,
And
so
that
true.
may be also just general communication. Are you able to communicate with your employer? Are you able to set boundaries? And if you're not able to do that with your employer, are you doing that with your partner? Are you
That's
doing that with your money?
mm,
So, that's the beauty of my full certification in all of those areas.
mm-hmm.
Um, but I really have kind of switched my focus from being a general health and life to being a transition coach for women who are
Okay.
exactly like you were talking about, us women who have overgiven our entire life and never really either learned how to receive or have just burnt out.
Mm.
And so now we're overwhelmed, and where do we start over?
And that's the key part. Like, and so we're going to talk about that because that's really the next piece. But ho- I'm going to, I guess it's going to sound ignorant, but I mean, I'm a man. We're not the smartest creatures on the planet. Uh, but how? Because I know I understand societal norms. We are as a society, especially here in America, we have these norms and these conformative boxes, I guess, if you will, that we like to place men and women in how we see our genders. But as a woman coming up, like, did you know, or did you feel this was always an expectation, like coming up in your household and things like that, that as a woman that these were the expectations and that you didn't have any flexibility or leeway to be anything other than those things?
In my house, absolutely.
Mm,
I was born and raised to be a wife and mother,
okay.
nothing else.
Hmm.
I wasn't told to go to college. I
Wow.
wasn't talked to about maybe joining the military or being a career woman.
Right.
It was being a wife and mother. So I was
Mm.
taught how to cook, how to clean, how to keep my husband happy, and how to raise my children. And that was it.
Wow. I, it's amazing because I mean, whether it be societal here in America, it's the same thing. Even cultural. I go even further. You know, my wife and I, similar backgrounds, Afro Latinos. You know, and there's these norms that, same thing. I look at my wife, raised to be a certain way, be a mother, a nurturer. She cook, clean, wash, take care of my daughter, take care of me, uh, looking at the bills, managing everything. And I come from typical Afro Latino household. The man comes, he works, he provides. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And but the difference was, I do say, I think where she and I differ or agreed that we wanted to be different. Like same thing, like you talk about for you, our daughter, it was just total opposite. You can be anything that you want. I wanted her to understand, you want to go to college, you go to college, you get a degree. You want to be the best version of yourself. Well, these are the things that you have to do. But again, my wife and I, we both, even though we came from those norms in our cultural part, we both decided that we wanted more. We wanted something different. So this is what we blend and what we've moved to. And I think that also plays a part though in changing those norms too, right? You have to have two people that come to identify, well, maybe we didn't like this or this, and we want to move towards this and create a whole new path, right? And is that something when you talk about you have a thing called overwhelm into empowerment, right? And I think this is really it's a really great uh movement, I guess, if you will. But could you take a moment and like talk about that, and what does it mean when you talk about it? And is, like you said, is that for your women now that you've transitioned into helping women? Is that really part of what's directed for our women to listen? Because ladies, pay attention to this, please.
Yeah, and that really was my focus with
Mm,
that because today's woman is not necessarily in that same trajectory of just kind of raising our kids, having a job good enough to provide for our family, that achievement
mm,
trajectory.
yeah.
Now women are more into this self-empowerment
Mm,
trajectory where we want more, but not everyone knows how to achieve more.
mm. Wow.
So, what I work with women on, especially, is identifying where you are and where you want to be, and then providing that roadmap to help them get there and see what is possible for themselves. Because, like you said, if you're still stuck in this limiting belief of who you are and what you can achieve, then you don't see what's possible.
That's right. That's right.
So I have to be able to show other women what is possible. And the world, we can be anything. We
Sure
we can
can.
be astronauts, we can be presidents, we can be anything.
Anything.
But
Yeah.
you have to believe in yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And that really starts with changing the mindset that we inherited,
Yeah. So,
those beliefs, those thoughts, those feelings.
mm-hmm. I because I love this, and it probably because more so too, because I'm a girl dad, and I'm all about empowering my daughter. But as men, like, because I think there's a lane here for men. Any man or male watching this, what can we really do? What should we be working towards, Leann, as men? From just, I'm not saying it has to be right, but from a perspective, to help empower our women, because I've come to learn that where I am today in my success, whether it's been my work career, this show, which wasn't my idea, it was my wife's. A lot of the things that I've surpassed and really been able to elevate and rise into, had a lot to do with her and her impact and her empowerment of me. And I do my best to do the same with her, but some men may not understand it. So from your perspective, what can we do to play a positive role in helping our women reach these same you know, overwhelm into empowerment moments?
There's a lot there, actually. I grew up as kind of a tomboy.
Okay.
So I was very lucky to have a father who made sure that I knew how to do things that traditional girls didn't do.
Mm,
Work on cars, fix things around the house. He wanted me to be able to take care of myself
yes.
without needing a man to take care of me.
Yeah.
So luckily, school here had auto mechanics and wood shop and metal shop. And since I already had the home ec side from being raised that way,
Right.
I wanted all of the other stuff. I wanted to be able to fix my own car, change my own oil, fix the toilet when it's not working. My dad was a general contractor. My first husband was a general contractor. So that really empowered me to be self sufficient as a
Mm,
woman.
mm-hmm. I love it.
And I think what's really important for men too is to be vulnerable
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to show, maybe when you were growing up, your father didn't show you vulnerability, or
Mm-hmm.
they didn't cry, or it was, toughen up and rub
Yep.
some dirt on it and you'll be
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
But I think if men can be vulnerable and show that vulnerability to their children,
Mm-hmm.
that is a huge step for future generations coming up, boys or girls.
Yeah.
Um, and anger,
Mm,
just knowing that it's okay maybe to get help,
yeah.
to admit that you need help and to get
Yeah.
help. And I love that there's so many things that are going on in the world where there's now retreats for men
Yeah. It,
so
it's
that
true.
they can be vulnerable and they can get help for those things and be okay with saying, I need help.
Yeah. No, that's true. I think you hit on it. I know two things that really resonated with me. I know for sure, outside of my wife, me having my daughter was the thing that changed my whole life. When you say become vulnerable, to this day, my daughter still has me like this. Uh, I will I break, even though everybody else might not see it. My wife will just be sitting there like, "See, she got you again." So to this day, that level of vulnerability, yes, she was the best thing that really helped soften me and allow me to be open. And then you talk about men going on retreats. I have some friends. We go on retreats every 3 or 4 months together. And sometimes it's not about what we're doing. Sometimes it's just about being able to talk about things that men go through with other men that are, and to me the most important part with that, if you do it, be with men who are like-minded, in a like space, that you are all moving towards similar goals or similar
Mhm.
paths. This way it's not a competition.
Yep.
It's more about how can we uplift each other and really talk about ways to get to that path. What have you done? What have you tried? What has worked? What hasn't worked? You share your failures and your successes. And I found that has been another huge aspect. So I agree with you in those spaces that fellas, get your game up, get right, challenge yourself, move yourself to be better than uh, the previous version of yourself. We always want to continuously grow. It's life. It's always growing. So with that, I'm going to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short pause for the cause because I want to thank our sponsors who are here, allowing us to sit here and have this great conversation with Leann. I mean, we're learning so much. I feel great just having this conversation. I don't know about you guys, but don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short pause and we'll be right back after this 90-second break. So we'll see you on the other side.
94 Media House specializes in transformative digital design that elevates your brand to new heights. Whether you need stunning graphic design, impactful branding, or a captivating web presence, our team is here to bring your vision to life. Join the ranks of successful businesses that trust 94 Media House for their digital design needs. Let's make your brand unforgettable. Contact us today.
Experience unforgettable memories with Riddick Entertainment and Events, the premier event planners in Northern Virginia. We specialize in crafting extraordinary weddings and events tailored to your vision. Led by the husband and wife team of Saeed and Michelle Riddick, we ensure your special day is stress-free and memorable. Don't leave your memories to chance. Let Riddick Entertainment help you create lasting moments. Contact us today to start planning your unforgettable event.
Unleash flavor with Tico Rico hot sauce, made from fresh, homegrown peppers for a vibrant taste. Enjoy the perfect blend of heat and zest with our habanero and refreshing Serrano lime sauces. Ideal for tacos, seafood, or salads, Tico Rico enhances any dish. Join the Tico Rico family today and elevate your meals with our award-winning sauces. Visit us online to grab your starter kit and discover the magic of Tico Rico.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're fresh back out the break. We're here with the incredible Leann Herron. She has been really giving us some gems, when it comes to life coaching, who she is, the work that she's providing, and the services that she's providing to women in the community to empower them, to overcome, challenges. It's been incredible. And if you got to this point, I don't know how you did, but you need to go back to the beginning. You need to watch it from the top or listen to it from the top because you missed a whole lot. But we're going to dive into the second half now, Leann, because you too are a podcast host, a talk show host, and your show was called Happiness on Tap. Now, I think I know why, but what is your personal definition of happiness? And how has that evolved through your coaching career and transitioned into your show?
For me, happiness is having the ability to create the life that we want, to know that we're not stuck and that we can choose to change the life that we have and have the life that we love. And to do that really just requires us to do some internal thinking and step outside of ourselves and help other people and just enjoy this beautiful life that we have, but know that we have the ability to change our future.
Those are some powerful words, but if I have to be honest, they're powerful, but really they're simple because the tools to do that really lie within our own hands, right? Because sometimes it's simple, and I say that because really, if I'm going to from my life experience or what I understand, the hardest thing one to do is to look yourself in the mirror, right, and really undress yourself, because a lot of us we really think so highly of ourselves, but when you really peel back the layers of yourself, it's really hard. And then you find a lot of things that you're like, "Ooh, man, I don't like that." But you hold those tools, and once you work towards fixing that, then your happiness can come in so many different ways, and you find that you can be blessed in so many different ways and on so many different levels. And for you, just finding that happiness in that space, happiness on tap, when you sit down and you talk, what can if our audience, and I'm going to encourage them to go listen and watch you as well, but what can they expect to see in your conversations with your guests and the stories that maybe you tell on Happiness on Tap?
When I first launched this podcast, it started with actually just recording some meditation videos to kind of help people get out of overwhelm and just find happiness in peace. I was one of those people that always said, "Oh, I can't shut down my mind. My mind is always racing. It's always on. I can't find quiet." Until I was able to truly develop a meditation practice, did I find the true peace and happiness in just being silent and present in the moment. And so that's where I started filming for my podcast. And then when I opened my business, my husband and I have always been very active in our local community, especially our local art community. So I had a lot of friends who are artists in all different kinds of mediums. And I had also met a lot of alternative medicine practitioners like sound healers and
Mm.
hypnotherapists and Reiki masters, different people who helped me when I was stressed to capacity, when my PTSD was out of control, really helped me learn techniques to calm my nervous system.
Oh,
And so between those two beautiful groups of people, I started really growing the podcast by interviewing those people so that I could share all of their beauty and talent with the world, with our bigger community, not
yeah.
just with the people here in Albuquerque.
Right.
And so, it was my artists and showing and letting them tell their story. I'm a story person. You get me talking to somebody and learning their story, I can listen all day because
I
we all
agree.
have stories.
That's
And it's
right.
showing what we've overcome or even our struggles. If we can learn to
Hmm.
share that with others, it is
That's the
so
truth.
empowering for ourselves to sometimes just speak those words out loud.
Agreed.
But I also just wanted to promote my community in any way that I could
Hmm.
so that other people could go see them when they would have pop-up art shows or
Yeah.
maybe experience hypnotherapy for the first time or experience a sound healing for the first time.
Yeah.
And so that's really where I started, was with those core group of people, and it has just grown from there. So my big focus is health and wellness and entrepreneurs.
Mm, I love that. I mean, it's such a great space because I think all of us, as we evolve and grow, like I said, you find that sometimes you need different outlets, you need different mediums, you need different things uh, to meet you where you are. Because, like I say, this today's version of Damon is not last year's version of Damon, or definitely 10 years ago. So, as you grow and evolve, these mediums are sometimes where they need to be and meet you where you are in your life. So people should definitely, check that out. And you talk about, you created that mindful and meditation practice. If I remember correctly, I want to say it was like a 4-week course. For those who are new to mindfulness, what would you say, Leann, is maybe one practice that they could start with today, for themselves, something simple, maybe something easy that they, anyone listening or watching could start with today.
Breathing.
Mm,
It is the one thing that we all possess. It is free, it's accessible all day, every day. And if you can just learn to control your breathing, if you're really anxious or you're just not feeling right, just slowing down and taking some controlled, deep breaths. And so, what I tried to do, the way I actually learned to meditate, was visualizing my own breath entering my body through my nose, breathing in for a count of 5, holding my breath for a count of 5. And then when I exhale for a count of 7, just really releasing all of that energy into the world. And once I learned to control my own breath, I've learned different ways to utilize my breath for different meditation practices, for even pain management.
yeah.
So if I'm having pain in my shoulder, I've learned to control my breath into that pain. And
Hmm.
when you breathe out, you can release
Yeah.
that pain. And
Hmm.
so it's such a powerful modality that we all have.
I love that. I think sometimes we overlook those things. I mean, I'm somewhat familiar with that. You know, being a young man taking martial arts. Those are some of the things that are really the key to your development, being able to control your breathing, control your anger through how you breathe. The pain that you may feel after sparring or whatever, your hands, your shoulders, your legs, whatever, you can release a lot of that pain by monitoring and controlling your breathing. And you really learn from a mental standpoint, where as you're breathing, where that pain is, how to hone in on that pain in your mind. And like you said, when you exhale, you expel that pain, and you can actually feel that pain move through your body. This is people might, if you don't know, you need to find out. But these are some real facts and some real things that I've experienced. And you mentioned, Leann, about entrepreneurs. For any entrepreneur in the audience, like, how do you recommend, or what do you recommend, anything that balances self-care with the demands of running a business? Like, we talk about how we always are on the go, but our entrepreneurs here listening, do you have a bit that you can maybe share for them?
One thing I learned with my business and keeping my business up and running is to prioritize self-care as part of your business strategy. Like
I
you
love
said,
that.
when you are full, when you are whole, you are able to give your best self
That's
to
right.
others, to your job. So treating self-care like it's a non-negotiable. It is one of the things that you do every day, just like checking your email.
Mm.
Um, Also establishing clear boundaries. Just setting your boundaries for your
That part.
specific work hours, making sure that you're taking breaks, that you're
Yep.
staying hydrated, um, and incorporating those different self-care practices, making sure you can get out, get a little walk in on your lunch hour. It is amazing how much it can change your whole day when
Say
you
it
just
again.
step away. And believe me, I wish I had done this when I was in the legal field. I may have been able to avoid hitting
Avoid
that
it.
wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's days where you work for 10 hours and you don't even take a break, much less drink a glass of water, even if it's sitting on my desk.
That's right.
I would be so hyper focused that I wouldn't even remember to take a drink.
Yeah.
So it's
Yep.
setting, we have technology. Set an alarm on your phone
Yeah.
to take a 20-second break.
That's
Get
right.
up from your desk.
Walk around.
Walk
See.
around. Our blood pressure is affected by sitting too long.
Mm-hmm.
Our heart, our health.
Yeah.
Get up, get away from the desk, take a break,
Right.
get some water, and learn to delegate. Learn to
Mm.
outsource when you can.
I love that.
Instead of thinking we have to do it all or only we can do it all,
Nope.
learn how to delegate that stuff away to other people. Again, that is a way for you to be your best self in the position that you're in.
That's so true. So true. Nothing but gems, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, you really need to pay heed to it, because I think these are all things that we all do in our normal everyday lives, whether it be our 9 to 5, our business, whatever it is. We take all of these things for granted, and then we wonder why. A lot of times, like how we started this conversation, we end up burnt out. We end up in position where we're overwhelmed. We're dealing with form of, like you said earlier, PTSD. And I want to talk about that as someone who's actually experienced PTSD, Leann. Like, what advice would you give to an audience member who might be dealing with that type of trauma or mental health issue while trying to pursue their goals or pursue their entrepreneurial, on their journey? Like, what advice would you give someone from that perspective?
I think a lot of the things that I just talked about
Okay.
really help either avoid or reduce those symptoms of
Mm-hmm.
PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And also learning maybe what your triggers are.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you feel them coming, like you said, sometimes it's a sound that you may hear. I know My ex-husband had some PTSD from being involved in a SWAT situation as a person who wasn't actually involved, but those sounds stayed with him. So even hearing police sirens or loud bang noises would trigger him. So learning what your triggers are, and learning different modalities for helping you kind of get control of those triggers.
Yeah.
So for me and my PTSD, it was learning how to question whether what was happening to me physically was real, is kind of the word that I use. Is this really happening to me right now? Or is this that subconscious thing going on in my body?
Right.
One of the things they kind of talk with coaches or even with regular people that struggle with PTSD is it's that fight or flight.
Yeah.
Or freeze.
Yeah.
So you get that trauma trigger and you freeze, but it's not the same freeze like you're hiding from a bear who's coming up behind you. Is that freeze that you're experiencing is it really real?
Yeah. That's a very good point.
And so when you learn those triggers, you learn how to question those triggers, and you learn other modalities like breathing or meditating, then you're able to kind of get control of them.
Yeah.
And when you don't have those techniques, you can stay stuck.
Yeah, and it's like your environment and everything it stays static. There's no room for change or growth. But like I say, you're just frozen, like in a loop, I guess, if you will. We're trying to like, is this really happening? Is it like over and over again? And those are great pieces of advice for people, and everything that we talked about today, not just PTSD, but mental health, or, from your business journey, your personal journey. I hope everyone that watched today, or if you're listening on your favorite streaming channel, you really, take time to really, play this back. Because I really believe if one person is helped by watching this today or hearing this today, then I think from my platform, I think I've done my job. And by having Leann on, help to get this message out, we've accomplished what I believe we're both here to do through each of our platforms, is to give something back to those who may be in a space of need, that may be looking for an answer. Well, hopefully today, you, ladies and gentlemen, you have a start. You can reach out to Leann, and she can help you. And if you're not in her area, maybe she can put you in contact with someone maybe closer to you, or give you some advice that at least will help you along the way to recover in your journey. Leann, it's been a great conversation today. I thank you so much for taking time out and sitting here and really educating us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And like you said, hopefully I'm here also to help people. All of my coaching now is all 100% virtual, because I know that I can help a lot more people from their home, from their car, from their job.
Yeah.
And also as a coach, I do have the ability to work together with somebody's doctor or therapist, so that we're all working as a cohesive group to try to help you the best that we can. And if I'm not that right person, I am more than happy to connect you with someone else that can help you.
I love that, Leann. And before we go, I want to allow you to take a moment. Please share your website information, social media, YouTube, whatever it may be that you have, so our audience can definitely reach you if they need to. And we'll make sure we put that in the show notes. We want people to have access, like I said, because it's very important that we have a full network of support. No matter where we are and what we're going through, we all need, especially in today's time, uh, that level of support. So go ahead and take a moment and share your website and social media, if you will, please.
Great. Thank you so much. My website is findingresiliencewithleann.com. Leann is Leann. It's all one word. On my website, I have tons of free and very low cost reference material, digital products, planners, journals, a lot of free resources, plus other connections to other people, as well as my podcast, which again is Happiness on Tap, which you can find on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeart, and Podchaser. Again, there's lots of wonderful stories from both entrepreneurs and health and wellness practitioners. And I think them sharing their stories with how they got where they are is also a great benefit to other people. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. I don't really have other social media. I avoid it and really only stay focused on LinkedIn because, as Damon talked about, I like to be involved with like-minded people who are all on a similar path for growth and growing our business. So thank you so much, Damon.
It's been a total pleasure, Leann. We will make sure, like I said, we shared it on screen. We'll put all of that information down in the show notes, ladies and gentlemen. Please, we are in a tough time in our not only our country but in our world, and so many of us are probably walking through moments of fog, moments of forgetfulness, moments of heck, I don't know what the heck I'm doing or where the heck I'm going or what I should be doing. So take advantage of someone like Leann who's here, who can provide a service. And I think it's always good to have a good reference point. And hopefully she can help work with you. If not, maybe she can point you in the direction of someone who can. But please go out and get the help that you need, ladies and gentlemen. And I am your humble host, Damon Cunningham. This is, man, time flies. We are now season 8 on Infusion TV, my brand new streaming channel. We have 5 new shows that started last year, and we've just added 5 more. We're going to be coming back with 10 shows this season on the #1 network for positive programming, the Mogul TV Global Network. You can download the Mogul TV Global Network app for free on your Amazon or Roku TV device, and then you can watch all the Infusion TV shows, all the Mogul TV network shows, all positive programming, ladies and gentlemen. So while it's free, because everything doesn't stay free forever, make sure you go out and you download that today. And if you want to follow Two Mics Up, you can follow us online. IG, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, online at www.twomicsup.com. We're all at Two Mics at everything. We're a 4-time winning talk show. We have the realest talk with some of the dopest guests, just like Leann. And I'm going to thank you all for your continued support. And like we do at the end of each and every segment, I'm going to leave you all with a couple of things. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.